Your voice, your opinion, your community. Fact TV, free speech protected.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music. Mike and Marty on the beat. Mike and Marty. Mike and Marty on the beat.
Good morning, community. It is Wednesday, February 28th, and you're here for the feed. Now, normally February 28th would be the last day of February, but we are in a leap year, so that's pretty exciting. I hope everyone has plans for something to do special tomorrow, since it only happens once every 4 years. Today I have Gary Fox returning to continue the conversation about the train station and economic development. And we have Walter Wallace, who is the Historic Preservation Coordinator, and we'll be talking about the Rockingham Meeting House, which is super exciting, the work that you guys are both doing. For local events, I'm going to keep it brief because they have a lot of stuff to talk about. At the Bellows Falls Opera House this week is Argyle, which is kind of cool. So it's an espionage movie. It's a writer who writes about espionage and spy type things, and then she starts experiencing that in real life. And there's a cat, and I'm guessing that the cat's name is Argyle. So that's March 1st through the 5th at the Bellows Falls Opera House. The classic movie is Karate Kid, Wax On, Wax Off. That is sponsored by Coda and Coda. And then a super fun new thing that's happening this Thursday night at the Moose. It's a Chamber of Commerce event. It's called Singo. So it's basically bingo with songs. I don't quite grasp how it's actually going to work, but I think it would be a fun event. And it starts at 6 o'clock at the Moose. And again, it's a sponsorship event for the Chamber. I just want to remind everybody, because it is a little bit confusing, that there will still be voting on Tuesday, March 5th. You will be voting for the high school and the River Valley Credit Union budget, and then you will be doing voting for the presidential election. So make sure that you're aware of that, and then you're going to be voting also again on Tuesday, April 2nd for all the normal things, all the people that are running for office, the budgets, the all those type things, with the annual town meeting being on Monday, April 1st. And I have to honor Peter and say no joke, it is Monday, April 1st. So Gary, you came last week and you talked about the train station, and if people were wondering, well, what difference does it make if we have a train station? And you said, I beg to differ. You didn't really, but that's the gist of it. That it's a great opportunity for economic development. So you want to carry on from there?
Alex wants to put the map on the screen. Basically, economic development projects increase the grand list, spread the costs around to more people in more places. So we continue our wonderful town and village and all the services provided. And so this is basically the redevelopment plan for the post-industrial area, the island district on the other side of the canal where the train station is. And last year, 2 years ago, at a town meeting, we voted, I think 87% of folks that voted for purchasing the train station to add $75,000 to our tax rate for that purpose. So this summer in June, the purchase will take place, and if we could see the image with the bricks on it, with the red outlined areas. So purchasing the building, these pieces are all fully funded at this time. These first two stages. So first stage purchasing. And then this summer, if you go to the train station, you can see the outside of the building looks pretty tough. Bricks missing, falling out, mortar missing between bricks. A whole course of rows on the Depot Street side of the building, 3 courses from the bottom. The bricks are scooped out as well as mortar. And so this is just an example. The side, not Depot Street, but the side facing the Amtrak tracks and the side facing the reach around the Connecticut River. All of the bricks that need to be replaced, repaired, the lintels above and below windows. So that's the work that will take place this first year. It's funded by a Downtown Transportation Fund grant. along with a couple other pieces that are all in place. And train station project's broken into a few stages. After the following year, we'll get into the interior pieces. And if we want to look at the interior sketch that's there, and basically with state and federal grants that in the end are grants funding $4,324,672, and that's being leveraged by $846,000 local dollars, including the funds that are in there from previous town meeting votes, a bond issue that is up for this town meting for $150,000 that will go towards
that
matching this third stage.
Article 27?
Sounds right. Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I tried to
Yes.
be proactive so that I wouldn't be like, I'm not sure.
Great. Well, thank
It
you.
is
Yeah.
Article 27, so when people go to vote, they understand it's their list. So
Yeah.
it's $150,000 bond, and that's what this is for.
Yes.
Okay.
And so just not telling people how to vote, but just want to make sure you have all the information, why it's important, compelling reason, economic development-wise, and the funding scenario. And so that picture that Alex had up was just showing what's going to be inside the building to generate revenue. The two businesses there, the whole center section, when you walk in the waiting area, Amtrak and Greyhound, the historic as it was in 1923, still that way. That will not change. Nothing about it. Beautiful high ceilings. But the north and the two ends, Depot Street and the north side, restaurant and nano brewery that will generate all the revenue to operate the building. So there will be no operating cost tax burden on residents.
I think that's super important because you've looked at both aspects of it. You looked at giving it a facelift and restoring it. And sometimes that's the easy part of it.
Right.
And I don't say easy lightly. I mean, that's the part you can get grant funding for. But it's the sustainability part, that double-edged sword, that becomes difficult. So kudos that you have that plan. I would expect nothing less, but kudos that if people are concerned that this is going to be something that we get restored and there's no, what's the point? Well, there's the point. That's just the beginning of many other things that can happen down there, and we probably won't go into a lot of detail. We talked a little bit last week, but so keep posted for that information.
Right. So you can look up any of the pieces on the website, Town of Rockingham. Under municipal projects, there's area-wide plan, and Bellows Falls Intermodal Transportation Center has all the details.
Great.
And not just from work we're doing today, we're definitely carrying that work forward, but going back over 20 years ago, folks here doing feasibility studies, planning what will make it work, what will be sustainable in the long term. So we're carrying that work forward.
It's amazing. It's very, very exciting. I just ran into someone in downtown Bellows Falls, and we were talking a little bit about the elections and things like that, and who's running and what's up for. And she said it's so exciting right now because we are in such an exciting place with everything happening in the town.
Right.
And I'm going to use that as a segue because I think it's super exciting what you are doing at the Rockingham Meeting House, because what a gem. What is it? It's one of the the largest intact 18th century public building remaining in Vermont with its original material form and in active use. That's a pretty big honor.
And in active use. It's still used by the select board once a year for its meetings. We regularly have various community groups. We have town committees, commissions that will meet there from time to time. It's still actively used, and it's being visited from people from all over the world. I think every season, every summer, the meeting house is open to the public for viewing. It's a wonderful museum piece that captures, really, if you will, the early colonial New England Puritan mind. It's something that is very special and quite unique. It is a National Historic Landmark. Has been so since 2000. And there goes the whistle. I hear the train a coming.
The trains are coming.
It's coming around the bend.
It's an update on the train.
And part of what the National Historic Landmark status really gives us a national presence and a national face. And it's really working with the National Park Service as well as the Vermont Division for Historic Preservation for the town to engage and work to keep the place up. And it's a challenge. There are many opportunities for use of the building. We have weddings happening there, celebrations of life, music events. We have an annual pilgrimage. We have visitors. But we also need to keep the place up, and that's always the challenge.
That was going to be my
how do we
next
keep it
question.
going?
Is so you have all this stuff happening, but the building itself has some stuff going on.
Well,
so you
the
want to
stuff-
speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. As I think anybody who owns an older home, older building, understands, this building was built between 1787 and 1800. It took about 13 years to complete. And it's been around for a while, and it's been used quite heavily for town business. For back in the day, the local Congregational and Methodist faith communities, Baptist faith communities met there before the Civil War. It was actively used and engaged, and it's tired. Now, that was recognized in 1906, 1907 by some of our great ancestors. Under the leadership of Lyman Hayes, the town clerk, the town historian, led the charge within the community to restore, do a light-handed restoration, because it started to go back to the earth. It's time again now for the town, I think, to step forward and help support, and has been stepping forward to help support some of the preservation work that needs to be done.
So what are your challenges right now? I know foundation is a big one, right?
Yeah, we've back in 2018 we started having some issues where small pieces of plaster started falling down from the ceiling, and the sky is falling. It was telling us something's not quite right here. The original plaster laid up in the 1790s is tired, and the building itself has been moving. It's on a very shallow set of granite stones. It's not a very deeply set foundation, and there's seasonal movement of the building. So we started to discover that we have some issues here. 2018, 2019, we started to address before the pandemic, and then since the pandemic, we moved forward at the recommendation of the Historic Preservation Commission to the Select Board to undertake a historic structure report, which gave us a full assessment of what's going on with the building. And there are issues. And there are issues, not to be alarmist, but there are issues about rotting wood, not only cosmetically, but also some issues with the timber frame itself. And so we began moving forward, that is the Historic Preservation Commission, in exploring how can we help address those issues.
Right, before it's too late.
Before it's too late. We want to keep the place going.
Right.
We did have a close call about a year ago in March. The state fire marshal did yank our occupancy certificate until we were able to make some quick fixes in order to renew the occupancy, and we were able to do that. But the occupancy limit, the load limit, has been lowered substantially by about a third, and other issues around the building that we need to be mindful of.
And so you have two articles that are on. So it's article number 24. That's for $125,000. You want to speak a little bit to what that is for?
Sure. That is a request for bond funding to help put together. It's the last piece that we need for the $980,000 phase one work that we are in the midst of planning and hope to start working on later this year in the fall, do some of the early construction work so that next year we'll be able to address drainage around the building, which has changed radically in the last few years because of climate change.
I was just going to ask you
There's a lot
that.
more water, and there's been movement of the foundation as a result. But to deal with drainage, to deal with the foundation itself. The foundation is only 12 to 18 inches, depending on where you look, below grade level. And as anybody knows anything about frost and movement of ground, it has taken its toll.
Mm-hmm.
So we hope to address those issues. Also to deal with the roof. Needs some conservation work. It was put up in, the current roof has been there since 2008, but does need to have some fixes done. And that's going to be the focus of this first phase, again, starting in the fall of this year and continuing in a major way next year. So it's a $980,000 budget that we have for it in place right now.
And you have
we
that
have-
$980,000 secured, and this is the last piece?
This is the last
Okay,
piece.
I just
that
want
we-
to
yeah, that's the
reiterate
last
that.
piece.
And that's huge. I mean, that's important because this is, you've worked,
Mm-hmm.
you know, knowing a tiny bit about finding grant funding. It's a lot of work, folks, a lot of work. And you've worked, and now you just need this last piece.
Yeah, we were awarded a Save America Treasures grant by the National Park Service. It's a specialized grant program only available to National Historic Landmarks that are at risk of that are at risk of going away. So we have that grant awarded. We have funding in place to match that. It's a matching grant. We have funding that's come to us through private philanthropy. BF Trades has stepped forward in a very interesting way too. It's just not money that they're giving to the, you know, for the actual construction work, but they've been very supportive in helping to make connections at the high school and at the Compass School. This is last January.
Oh, nice.
We had an architect who specializes in laying out timber frames come and do a special workshop with the 7th and 8th graders there.
Oh, that's great.
About how to apply simple geometry and using a straight edge and a compass. How does one lay out a timber frame using the meeting house as an example, and engaging young folks? We have Ben Perry at the high school is doing his community service work with the meeting house, focusing on the graveyard, which is also part of the National Historic Landmark. So BF Trades has been very good at helping facilitate those relationships. I think hitting their mission, certainly our interest in helping to generate, because one of the things that we've discovered, and I'm sure that it'll become more and more aware, painfully aware as time goes by, there are escalation costs with the kind of preservation work that we're doing. The kind of work that we're doing requires people with certain skill sets, many of which no longer are common. They are out there, but a preservation carpenter, that is somebody who has the skills, has the tools to be able to do the work of an 18th century craftsperson. A joiner who knows how to make a window sash using hand planes. Those folks are far and few between. And what we're trying to do is generate an interest and try to get young people interested in the project so that they can maybe start to think about careers in historic preservation work, which incidentally are very good paying jobs.
I would imagine, yeah.
Because they are very.
So I think that's important to point out, because the whole goal is to historically preserve it, not to just fix it, because that would be you could just fix it, right?
Yeah.
And probably for a lot less.
But
it's preserving something in our community that what you just said is proof of in the pudding that it's a community. It's vital, because the connection to the kids and the trades and the learning opportunity, it's that big circle. So
absolutely, and it's part of a circle that I hope will not be unbroken over here. That it's a circle that has been going on now for close to 250 years. It's been, the town has always owned this building. The community has always had this as an acropolis, if you will. I think the original idea back in the 1780s, actually in the 1770s, when this building was first envisioned, the American Revolution got in the way. It's a slow start. But in the 1780s, 1790s, there was a real sense that this is where people came up to the hill. They walked up the hill for town meetings, and that was back in the day when there were more than just once a year town meetings. Whenever there was a need to lay out a road or build a bridge, people would come together. This is where the select board met regularly, where the town clerk met with folks. This is where the faith communities came together for community worship up through the 1830s, 1840s. And it's something that has been part of the community, and I think that that organizations like the Rockingham Meeting House Association fully recognize and are very supportive of what we're doing. I want to give a shout out to the good work of the Rockingham Meeting House Association as well, as part of a community-based organization that is helping support with ideas and with fundraising to help with this effort. They've been around, by the way, since 1911.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that one of the
Yeah.
longest? I'm just curious, strictly my curiosity. Is that one of the longest organizations within our town, or are there longer?
I don't know. That's a good. I
You-
will make a
you
note of
let me
that,
know that,
and I
note
will
that.
research.
Well, inquiring minds want to know. So
Yeah.
that's Article 24,
Yeah.
and then Article 25. You want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah,
one?
Article 25 is a request to fund the annual allocation to the Rockingham Meeting House Association Capital Reserve Fund. The Capital Reserve Fund was created by the town back in 2018, approved by the town, with an initial allocation of, I believe, $20,000, with the anticipation that every year after that would be $22,000, to create a fund that would allow the accumulation of funds to be able to do some of the heavy lifting work.
Right.
To paint a place like that is just one side is a $20,000
I imagine.
project in order to do it with hand scraping and with the proper paints, etc. That when we discovered it, for example, with the plaster, and this is, I think, what really nudged it along, the plaster work, just doing some patching and stuff, cost about $90,000. And we need to do some major restoration of
Right.
plaster
So,
in the
in,
building.
so
This allocation is that we're requesting in this particular article is this year's allocation towards that capital reserve fund.
and
that
the original
is
one
for-
started in 2018. You
In
said
2018,
Yeah, and I mean that's important because sometimes I'm assuming there's a timeliness to the things that you need to get done.
Mhm.
So you can't be looking for a grant, you can't be whatever, and really you don't take in any income there. So
Well, we do.
You have the-
we
the-
do ask donations,
Right.
and community groups.
Support it.
There is a user fee, except for the Rockingham Meeting House Association
they get
and the select board, and town committees and commissions. There is a small user fee
Okay.
that helps offset. We do ask for donations, the free will donations, and they're sizable. At the end of the year, we're able to say that this is worth doing and
Right.
contributing to the regular maintenance fund. We do have a regular maintenance budget.
Okay.
But I must tell you a little story about
We have 2 minutes.
Okay, 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I walked into the meeting house in April after not being in it for the winter and saying, "How are you doing, buddy? We've got to get you ready for the new year." And I looked around and there were not one but 2 window sashes that were literally rotting in place and falling down and apart. I hate to say it, but we had to do an emergency historic preservation. Historic preservation should not be done is an emergency response to that kind of situation. So when we think about, we have some maintenance funds, we have to be able to deal with that, but
Right.
long term, there are other windows
Right.
in the place that need this kind of help.
So, if you're going to town meeting, which will happen on Monday, April 1st, you're going to be looking to, what we're talking to today was the train station was Article 27, and what Walter was talking to was Article 24, 25. Again, we're not trying to sway your vote, we're just trying to make sure that you're educated when you go in, and that's all. You're educated as to what it, because sometimes people are like, oh, why is this pertinent? There's 30 articles.
We will be available at town meeting
To talk.
and and during the voting day on April 1 and 2.
Okay,
To
perfect.
answer any questions. We don't want any, anything.
Right, it just gets confusing. Like, why is this really important? I think is what a lot of people think.
And on an ongoing basis, folks can check in what's going on with the Meeting House's preservation project. Go to the town website under municipal projects. There's a web page there. All of the assessment reports, the engineering studies, architectural studies, all the stuff, if you will, to really get educated, including a breakout of the budget for this first phase of the project. All of that is there, and people are more than. I would encourage people to go there to educate
And that is
themselves.
rockinghamvermont.org.
That's correct, and under municipal projects, and
We're good. So that, as again, time has gone quickly. So please make sure that you go to the town meeting. Please make sure that you exercise your right to vote. And I thank you both for coming. Next week we will have Patrick Applegate coming back to join us, and he's going to be talking about his free women's self-defense course that's happening at Greater Rock Fitness. So bye, community.
cheerio.
Local news, politics, business, sports, arts, music.